Okay, Mary's here, so we'll get started. Good evening and welcome to the Southbridge Town Council meeting of the whole for Thursday, May 7th, 2020 at 7 p.m. Just read this governor's order, call to order, pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspended certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Council of the Whole is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted. Every effort will be made to ensure the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in this order. A reminder that persons who would like to view this meeting while in progress may do so by watching Southbridge Cable Access Channel 192 or by the remote information noted below. We will post a record of this meeting on the town's website at www.ci.southbridge.ma.us as soon as we are able to. Agenda item 2 is the Pledge of Allegiance. So I will ask Councilor Nash, if you could lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, I'd appreciate it, so that not everybody's talking at once.
My pleasure. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilor Nash. Roll call, Madam Secretary.
Councilor Adams.
Present.
Councilor Catrona.
Present.
Councilor Daniel.
Present.
Councilor Jovan.
Present.
Councilor Lazo.
Absent.
Councilor Manna.
I'm going to say absent. I didn't get a message from her for tonight.
Okay, thanks. Councilor Marchetti.
Present.
Councilor Nash.
Present.
And Councilor Steves.
Present.
Mr. Chairman?
Okay. Yes, Councilor Marquet.
Did you want to record this for prosperity?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it is. The cable is recorded as well, but
all right.
We will dispense with all the...
This conference will now be recorded.
Thank you, Councilor Marchetti. Again, good evening. We are already taking roll call. That is being recorded by Cable Access, so there is a record of us in the meeting with Cable Access, so thank you. Good evening. Tonight we welcome the Chairman of the Councilor Daniel, Councilor Catrona, with the Town Manager search process and a presentation by Paradigm Associates, Bernie Lynch. Bernie, welcome tonight with your team. Looking forward to hearing from what you gave to the search committee earlier. I did get your email, so I do have that available as well. So I'm good on that study. So I'll first, Chairman Daniels, if you have anything you want to say to the council before we start, and then it's your show. You can determine where you want to go with this. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you to the committee, to the council. We did meet earlier. The Town Manager Search Committee met earlier. It was a very good meeting. We brought up some concerns that we had about the position statement. Community Paradigm was very open to willing to listen to what our concerns were. They took copious notes, and the way I understand it, they are going to make changes. There were concerns mainly revolving around making sure that we do our due diligence in terms of notifying candidates about our very valued Latino population, and also in terms of the job description for the future town manager in terms of being a project manager. Those are two very important concerns that the committee had. Salary is an issue, as we'll talk about in a bit. And other than that, I think that it's a strong statement. I think that Mr. Lynch and his crew have done very well by us, and I look forward to what he has to say tonight to us as well. Back to you, Mr. Chairman. You're muted.
Welcome, Bernie, and I'll turn the floor over to you and your team. Good evening.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having us, and thank you for selecting us as your search consultants. And we've had a couple of good meetings with the search committee so far. And as Councilor Daniels indicated, we got some good feedback tonight about really stressing the importance of and significance of the Latino community, and making sure that was highlighted within the statement. So we're certainly going to do that, as well as the project management. And there were a couple of little tweaks in a couple of the other sections that, for instance, the solid waste issues that the town is facing. And they, noting that the committee is already in place, and that then another issue of the pavement management report actually predates 2017, but is being updated. So we've already made note of that, and Sharon, I think, has already made those changes based upon a conversation I had with her right after that meeting. So I should take the opportunity to introduce John Petrin, who's working on this recruitment process, as well as Sharon Flaherty. They're here with me tonight to speak with you. We met with the committee before this meeting, primarily to go over this document. We're interested in hearing from the councilors what their thoughts are. We see this as an important tool. Essentially, the way we look at it is there's three purposes that this serves. The first is that it allows the town, through the councilors, through the search committee, the department heads and key staff, to really think about, be part of a process that thinks about what are the issues facing the town of Southbridge and what are the priorities that the town has, and what are the attributes that we want the next town manager to possess as we go out and do this search. So going through that process, thinking about that, we think is always very important. The second purpose this serves as a recruitment tool for us. We use this as soon as this is wrapped up and completed through a vote of the council tonight, based upon the notion that there are going to be those changes that we've talked about. We plan to advertise this position and circulate this position statement to interested candidates. Those interested candidates are those that respond to the advertisement. This will be posted. We can have this posted on your website. It will be posted on the Community Paradigm website that gets 4,000 to 5,000 hits per month. It will be referenced in the ads, which again will be put in the Massachusetts Municipal Association, as well as the International City and County Management Association. And we also distribute the postings to our network of contacts that we have out there that are either interested in working in municipal government or know municipal managers and municipal officials that might be interested in this type of position. So our goal here is to really develop the largest possible pool of candidates for the search committee and ultimately for the council to look at. The third purpose that this document serves, after going through the process, is it serves as an assessment tool. As we develop questions for the interview process, we'll fall back on the information that's in this document, the priorities, the challenges, the opportunities, and the attributes. And the search committee and the council will use the information in this to really assess the candidates as to whether they meet the requirements of the position, the requirements of the town. So that's what this document's all about. As far as a timetable and a process goes, our hope is to have this position advertised and the recruitment process beginning probably on Monday. We'll probably post this, the ads and the postings early next week. We're expecting that this process will take about 4 weeks to bring in all the resumes, which we'll then sit down and go over with the search committee. I think we've already set June 11th as a date to meet, to go over the resumes, identify the semifinalists that we want to talk to, with the hope being that we can do those interviews the in the middle of June and have get them to the council probably late June, early July. So it's somewhat of an aggressive schedule, but we know that Southbridge needs to have someone on by the middle of August, and so we need to sort of move this along. But we're happy to take questions about the document and certainly your feedback, and we want to answer any questions about the process that you might have.
Thank you. So I'll go around, and first I'll start with, I guess, Councilor Dana, did you have anything you want to add from your original meeting before? I'll start with you.
No, only that the wishes of the committee were generally that we recommend to the council that they look favorably on the position statement, of course, with amendments that the council may wish to make as well.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Marchetti, do you have anything? Any questions, additions, any thoughts on this?
Not really. I had a conversation, I think, with John last week. I told him what I thought the ideal candidate would be competent, and it looks like that's what you've got here. He listens to and relates well with other council members. I want somebody who's an independent thinker and isn't beholden to any or swayed by members of his staff or management positions. We had a pretty good conversation. This looks pretty good to me. I don't have anything to add to it. Thank you.
Okay, so you feel that it encompasses everything that you had the dialogue with Community Paradigm?
I think so.
Okay, thank you.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, one
Yes.
thing I should have stated, and I just want to, I think I mentioned that we spoke with, I think, all but pretty much every counselor, I think, was included or I know contacted. We spoke with all of the members of the search committee and a number of the department heads and key staff. There are elements that people mentioned to us that they are looking for, or challenges, some of which are difficult, if not impossible, to put on paper. But but they're issues and attributes that we as recruiters will keep in our minds as we're talking to candidates and we're going out and doing the outreach of who would be a good fit and who wouldn't. But there are certainly issues that were raised that you can't really put on paper, but we know what Southbridge needs.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that clarification. I think that was an important point. Councilor Nash?
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't think that I have anything to add. I enjoyed my conversation with Mr. Petrin for about 30 minutes the other day. And I'm certain that what I've seen in the document is more than adequate to start seeking candidates. I'm sure that there will be adequate opportunity for the search committee and the recruiters to ask the tough questions of the candidates. And I'm perfectly happy with the way things have been presented. I appreciate the time and I value the expertise that Paradigm is bringing to the table for us. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Steves?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did have a couple of things. I was unfortunately not able to attend the meeting that just happened, and I want to say also thank you to talking to John, because it was an interesting conversation. A couple of points that I thought were kind of important. I don't recall seeing anything in there specifically about having a lot of experience in procurement, which I think is critical in our community.
Okay.
I know it mentioned kind of in general with a lot of the more general terms that you would expect a manager to have. So hopefully that would be covered. And one of the things I thought was kind of important, and I think I probably did mention this to John, but I'll mention it again, is that one of the things I think the next manager should have is the willingness to get involved with the various appointed boards and commissions so that he has a good idea of where things stand in the various aspects of things that are going on in town. Because there's a lot of things going on that kind of behind the scenes that quite frankly, our current manager doesn't see. So I think that's kind of important. And also, one of the things that it mentions a lot about the AO, which obviously is important, but I would like to see it mention the other vacant mills in town that need to. It does mention a lot of vacancies as well, but I think it'd be good to mention the other vacant mills, like in Globe Village specifically, because some of them were equally historically important too, although they weren't quite as big. And that's all I had at the moment.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Catrona, did you have anything else you want to add?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, I think we spoke, we had a very good discussion in subcommittee. We have a very good subcommittee. And I agree with most of the position statement. Where I'm not in favor of is advertising this at the salary of 155 plus or minus. There was very good discussion. Bernie gave us salaries of surrounding towns from Auburn at 176, so on and so forth. And I'm sure you're in possession of that document now, Mr. Chair. But I just don't think advertising this at 155 with the financial constraints of this town of 17,000 is allowing someone to grow into the position. I did state some of the ZipRecruiter salaries from April 30th, 2020, that stated the average annual pay for town managers in that category is 101,509. Now they're seeing salaries as high as 139 and as low as 61,387, but the majority of the salaries for town managers are coming in roughly between 124 and 136. So I did appreciate, Bernie, you supplying us with the surrounding towns. I can't justify a starting salary of 155 for a town manager coming into this position. Thank you.
Thank you. Bernie, do you have a follow-up on that?
Well, I guess and I appreciate Councilor Catrona's feedback on this, and you know, we don't use ZipRecruiter when we as a tool necessarily for the salaries. You know, unfortunately it's that sometimes I have used it for other positions, not for managers, and unfortunately it doesn't. Sometimes it captures other positions based upon the keywords that you use, and in town managers sometimes it pulls managers in towns, but they aren't necessarily town managers. I can tell you that the highest salary, and I'm not advocating that you do this, but the highest salary I think in the state is for a manager is, you know, the city manager of Cambridge is at like $350,000. Most of the town managers in the state east of 495 are in the 175 to 210 for salaries. When you get out past 495, you're into that probably the 150, 140 to 160 range. When you get out further past, you know, the Mass Pike, a little bit farther out, you get into the probably 95 to $125,000. You know, we just did Long Meadow, East Long Meadow. We did Palmer. Those were all up in the 130s. Even little town of Beckett that we did a couple of years ago, I think is at 100. It's really, you just don't find the low salaries that the database that we're talking about seems to reference. So what I did provide is a set of comps from last July that we had pulled together for this region. And we anticipate that those will all be going up. I actually sent that on to the chair. We can, if you want, we can put that up. This is what we have. The town of Auburn, and Councilor Catrona has already mentioned this, town of Auburn at 16,000 people with a town administrator. Actually, I think that should be town manager, is at 176. Bellingham at similar population as a town administrator is 155. Berlin is a relatively, this one is you know, right on 495, but it's sort of an indication of where the market is. Just at 2,800 people, it advertised at 150, and it for a first-time town administrator, and it's paying at 145. Blackstone is at 140, 9,000 people. The neighboring town of Charlton, that back then was 145 at just under 13,000. They just hired the administrator from Barry at 140. Grafton is a town administrator at 17 with 147. Uxbridge, I think I corrected this one because we had advertised that out at 135, but there was actually were able to come in, 135 plus or minus, and they actually settled at 127. That's a very cute baby. Northbridge 152 at 15,000. Sturbridge at 153 at just under 10, and that's neighboring community. Sutton 161. Upton 7,500 at 147, and Webster at 17,140. So if you look at it, the average there is $149,000 roughly. So that's where we're coming with. It's Uxbridge really drives that down. Most of them, as you can see, are in that 140 to 165. It goes all the way up to 176. But I would say the 155 is sort of a mid-range point. You get someone with limited experience but has tremendous potential. You can bring them in lower and bring them up. And if you get a candidate that really has a tremendous amount of experience, they may be looking at something a little north of 155. I appreciate the sense that a town has financial issues, but I think it's important to note that in this market, which is a seller's market, half the communities in the state have turned over within the last 4 years. Every town is chasing managers, or they just got a manager, so we're not going to be able to get them. You need to have a salary that's appropriate to get the talent that you are looking for.
Bernie, I just want to throw in too. I did real quick. I checked Oxford because we always throw them into our mix. And Oxford, from what I could find online, real quick, FY 2019, they were at 140,491. And she's a pretty strong town manager, town administrator, town manager as well. So, and we're right now with our current one is at 140, 142. So, I mean, I get where you are for the ranges. So, thank you for that information. Bernie.
Yeah, and I should have included Oxford. We actually did that search as well. So I should have pulled that one in.
Any follow-up, Councilor Catrona? You're good with everything else?
No, like I stated earlier, I'm good with that. Again, with the challenges that we have in this town, I think with the demographics, the financial challenges, I can't put this document as it stands now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Adams.
Distinguished Chair. First of all, I appreciate Bernie and the team recognizing some of the changes that need to be made on this document. So I thank you for doing that. I'm not opposed to the 150, 155 area because I think it's going to open doors to maybe other town managers with a little bit stronger background. And so I'm hoping that that's the case. I appreciate all the hard work everybody's doing, but that's really it. I think I've already had my conversation with Bernie, and everything that I've asked for is, or at least talked to him about, is pretty much there. Thank you.
Great. I'll go through one more time with Councilor Steves because I can't see him. Councilor Steves, did you have anything else?
Not really. I was just thinking a little bit along the same lines that Joe was making a second ago. Maybe we ought to put in there as a 150 plus or minus as opposed to 155. That's just my thought.
Okay. All right. Bernie, when you do these ranges, when you advertise, is it always typically 155 plus or minus, or do you do like 150 to 160? I mean, I try to get a sense of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll tell you.
Advertising wise.
we generally use just a number, and they use the plus or minus, and it's understood that that's a sort of a mid-range point. You know, that it gets their attention. Otherwise, they're thinking, you know, that they're capped off at one. Like if you did a salary range of 150 to 160, then they might say, well, it's capped off at 160. There may be some personnel plan in place that says, okay, that's the cap off, and you know, you don't want to prevent someone that might want to come in at 162, and it's really good that, you know, you wouldn't get them. And also, they obviously think that the 140 is the base point versus the fact that, or the 150 is the base point, when in fact you might be able to bargain lower if they don't have experience. So it gives you a little bit more flexibility in what you put out there.
Okay. So on the minus side, you know, if somebody was brand new and had no municipal experience, and I think we had chatted one time about, say, somebody came out of the military or something, maybe didn't have municipal experience, but they had a lot of leadership capabilities, that perhaps you would have that flexibility to start them maybe at the lower end of the range because of the municipal with strong incentives with performance. Does that give you that leeway?
Exactly. Yes. And throughout all of this, there's always the potential that this just sort of sets a stake in the ground that you can then work around. So to Councilor Catrona's and Councilor Steve's, that you put this out there, and that doesn't mean you have to pay 155. You can come in at, you know, something lower with some incentives built in, but you want to be able to get the candidate's attention to apply for the position, but you can go lower. Yes.
Okay. All right. Councilor Marchetti?
Yeah, I would just like to say that, and I don't have a problem with this price range. I mean, if we're looking at neighboring communities, I think Webster would be the community to look at, but Webster has an administrator and certainly isn't the same amount of work that a town manager is going to have to do. So, and responsibilities. So at 155, I think it's fine. Maybe we'll get a really good candidate, a real good town manager, and it'll be well worth it to pay him that salary. So I'd have to go with what this team has put together. I think they're the experts, and let's trust them on that. I have no problem with 155 plus or minus. Thank you. Okay.
All right. Is there anything further from anybody? Councilor Steves, any additional comment to that? Or are you good?
No, not at the moment.
Okay. All right. We got Councilor Nash.
Thank you, Chairman. I appreciate it. I appreciate the discussion about this because this is something I had a little heartburn over, as everyone probably does here and there. We're all worried about financial constraint, and I think that's the driving factor that convinces me we need to advertise at least 155. It would be my preference to not get average. Look at where we've been and where we want to go. This community needs to have the best available town manager, or the best we can afford. We need to make a few tweaks and get somewhere a little bit higher for a salary. When it's time to negotiate and land somebody, I want to see the best candidates brought forward. This community deserves it and needs it after what we're going through now and what we're going to be seeing. So that would be my response. I appreciate the time.
Thank you. All right. If there's nothing further, I guess motions in order to a motion to approve the Southbridge, Mass Town Manager position statement as presented by Community Paradigm Associates.
So moved.
There's a second? Second. Right, I'll go around for discussion. Councilor Adams, do you have anything?
No, I don't. You know what I do? I agree with Councilor Nash at this point wholeheartedly. And it's a good statement to make about that, including Councilor Marchetti as well. So thank you,
okay.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Yeah. And that position statement would include the salary at 155 plus or minus. Councilor Marchetti, anything?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay. Councilor Nash?
No, had my say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Daniel.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'm very excited about this document. I really believe that if with a little bit of luck, someone is out there that's going to knock our socks off and really come forward and come through for the town. I'm in favor of this document as it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Steves?
I just wanted to say that I think I did. I want to say that I agree with what Councilor Nash said at the last thing he said, and I guess I'll go with it the way it is. I'm fine.
Thank you. Councilor Catrona?
Nothing more. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Seeing no further discussion, roll call, Madam Secretary.
Councilor Adams?
Yes.
Councilor Catrona?
No.
Councilor Daniel?
Yes.
Councilor Jovan?
Yes.
Councilor Marquetti?
Yes.
Councilor Nash?
Yes.
Councilor Steves?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Madam Secretary, just for the record, if you could note Council Manor as excused. She did communicate to me, so change her from absent to excused. Thank you.
Will do, thank you.
Okay, and with that, Councilor Daniel, you have anything else to discuss about the search process, or Bernie?
We're barring something unforeseen. Our next meeting will be on June 11th. We're looking forward to the candidates that Mr. Lynch and his crew are going to bring forward. I really feel good about Community Paradigm and what they're doing for us. I think they have a real good understanding about the town. I think they've really listened to what the councilors and department heads and search committee have had to say about the town and what the needs are for the town. I'm looking forward to see how this process plays out. Thank you.
Thank you. Bernie, do you have anything else to add?
The only other thing I said, and I appreciate the kind words from everyone, and on the work that was done. Sharon prepared the document, and John and I talked to each one of you, so that was our contribution. But the document that you approved obviously is subject to as I described, the amended parts that the search committee asked us to incorporate, and I believe my understanding too is, I think it was Councilor Steves who asked for some additional wording regarding the other mill properties. So we will put that in as well.
Yeah,
thank you.
And I think too, Councilor Steves did, and it may be one of those things. The attributes as that strong procurement, chief procurement officer thing. So because we need that. Okay, so thank you very much, and we'll look forward to, I guess, your next meeting on June 11th. And thank you again for the comps of the area managers. I think anytime I've been involved in any discussion on searches, especially I'm more familiar on superintendent, that's always been the talking point and the sticking point. And when you bring on those numbers, especially the area towns that you did include, similar to ours, that makes the case that you can try to defend it a little bit more than just pie in the sky numbers, because often they get outlandish. You said Cambridge or something like that, and you sit there go, well, we're not Cambridge, but some of those towns do have the similar demographics, and we certainly know the issues and the challenges that we have that are greater than some of these other towns. So appreciate everything you did. Look forward to meeting with you in the near future and seeing the candidates that you do bring forward to the town. With that, if nothing further, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Marquetti, seconded by Councilor Adams. Roll call, Madam Secretary.
Councilor Adams?
Yes.
Councilor Catrona?
Yes.
Councilor Daniel?
Yes.
Councilor Jovan?
Yes.
Councilor Marquetti?
Yes.
Councilor Nash?
Yes.
And Councilor Steves?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
For coming.
This conference is no longer being recorded.